Your Excellency, Dame Sandra Mason, the Honorable John King, Minister of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, Paul Altman, Chairman of Campus Council, the Honorable Dr. Cynthia Wilson, Guest of Honor, Professor Alan Cobley, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Board of Undergraduate Studies, Professor Clive Landis, Deputy Principal, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Miss Esther Phillips, featured speaker, Dr. Jacqueline Wiltshire, Gay, Chancellor Emeritus Sir George Allen and Lady Allen, Mrs. Jacqueline Wade, former campus registrar, other members of the Allen family, members of the campus community, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ken Walters, campus registrar. I'm your MC for this evening's ceremony. I want to bring you a very warm welcome from the University of West Indies at Cape Phil for this very special occasion. We recognize the work of one of our own, Cynthia Wilson. I've taken you back a bit. The Honorable Dr. Cynthia Wilson, CBH, DLit, is an acclaimed cultural practitioner, actress, author, and dancer who played a significant role in the arts in Barbados and wider field. In 1973, she helped establish the Barbados National Independence Festival of Creative Arts, NIFCA, and served as its organizing secretary and producer during 1973 to 1975, director 1975 to 1976, and producer 1987 to 1989. A founding member of Stage One Theatre Productions, she also served as the body's president during 1980 to 1982. She was manager of the Barbados Dance Theatre Company from 1985 to 1988, and administrative director of WWB Productions 1986 to 1996 with the late Earl Warner. She served as deputy chairperson of the National Cultural Foundation 1986 to 1988, and between 1975 and 1980, she produced several local cultural presentations for visiting heads of state, including Queen Elizabeth II. Dr. Wilson has also served on regional and international boards and organizations related to cultural arts, including as first chairman of the Association of Caribbean Theatre Artists, ACTA, which was formed in January in the 1980s. She was appointed by the CARICOM Secretariat as one of the founding directors of the CARICOM Foundation for Arts and Culture, and was a founding member of the Caribbean Artists Movement initiated by Professor Kamau Braffett. A graduate of University College of the West Indies, Jamaica, 1958, she worked as a high school English teacher in Jamaica and Morocco, later serving in the Barbados Foreign Service, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and at the Caribbean Tourism Research Center. Dr. Wilson's service to Barbados and the region has been recognized in numerous awards and honors, notably the nation's second highest award, the Companion of Honor 2016, for her contribution to the cultural life of Barbados. In 2003, the University of the West Indies had conferred on her the degree of Doctor of Letters. And other accolades include the Barbados Service Star, the Bussa Award, University of the West Indies Atmona Distinguished Graduate Award, the Earl Warner Trust Lifetime Achievement Award, the Cacique Caribbean Lifetime Achievement Award, presented by the National Drama Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and the UWI Humanities Scholar Award in recognition of outstanding contribution to the arts in Barbados and the wider Caribbean. She received the Imagination Award, one of two inaugural awards presented by the Errol Center for Creative Imagination in November 2016 as part of the celebration of Barbados' 50th anniversary of independence. So from that profile, we see a person who has contributed significantly in terms of both the administrative and the creative aspects of Barbadian society. That is why we're here this afternoon, to recognize those efforts for Barbados and the wider Caribbean. The artist's vocation is to send light into the human heart. I think Cynthia would have done that by a lot of the work that she did in terms of reaching out to all those persons that she was able to reach out to, and being part of that, those organizations which she helped to mold into what we enjoy today. I will now let invite Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities Education, to bring remarks.
Your Excellency Dame Sandra Mason, the Honourable John King, Minister of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman of Campus Council, the Honourable Dr. Cynthia Wilson, Guest of Honour, Professor Alan Cobley, Pro Vice Chancellor, Board for Undergraduate Studies, Ms. Esther Phillips, Featured Speaker, Chancellor Emeritus, Sir George Aline and Lady Aline, Mrs. Jacqueline Wade, former registrar, campus registrar and friend, other members of the Aline family, members of the campus community, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to welcome you on behalf of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, where you are now situated. The faculty that then Principal Beckles liked to call the Art Beat of Cave Hill. Art Beat, in case you didn't get it. Sigh. Fittingly, we're here in the spruced up Arts Lecture Theatre, and kudos to Miss Lisa Yard under the guidance of Miss Jennifer Hinkson. They've done a massive job in a very short space of time. We're here to celebrate Dr. Cynthia Wilson's contribution to Caribbean arts and culture, but most specifically theatre. We're here to do this by renaming this space in her honor. When I first came to Cave Hill from Mona, the Mona campus in 1983, there was a vibrant drama scene in Barbados, and at its epicenter was Stage One and soon after WWB Productions, which actually translated as the powerhouse trio of Earl Warner, Cynthia Wilson, and Darcy Boyce. I just remember it as being a very exciting time, and my faculty tried to join in as best it could with staff members like Michael Gilks, Kathleen Drayton, very much involved in local theatre. And then when Rob Lation joined the faculty, he formed the Cave Hill Theatre Workshop. And this theatre was the space where students and producers and directors worked and rehearsed to bring us impressive short and long-term and full-length dramatic performances on a shoestring budget. Over the years, these walls have witnessed book launches, poetry and prose readings, including those by tutors and students of the Callaloo Creative Writing Workshop, dance recitals, staff-student concerts, we won't say a lot about those, launches of the latest issue of PUI, the Cave Hill Journal of Creative Writing, interviews with visiting playwrights, film screenings, open mic sessions, the Intercampus Modern Languages Theatre Festival, and most recently, a Spanish theatre night with several ambassadors present. With a new minor in creative writing offered this academic year by my faculty, and an MFA in creative writing projected for next year, as well as the EBCCI's slate of programs in the performing arts, the creative and performing arts, we are still very much invested in teaching, researching, and the actual practice of the arts. It's therefore completely apt that students or future students who sit or rehearse or perform right here in future will do so in the Cynthia Wilson Arts Lecture Theatre. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I always remember this lecture theatre because I did my undergraduate degree and spent most of the time in this lecture hall listening to Professor Woodville Marshall, Keith Hunt, and all those legends of the KFL campus as they expose the history of the Caribbean and beyond, and I've totally enjoyed it. So there's a sense of a deja vu that we're going through this change, but life has to continue and change has to come, and therefore we're looking forward to the new naming of the theater, but it has very good memories for me from the past. Creativity takes courage, basically, because I think people are sometimes not as risk-taking. Entertainment is a risk-taking thing, and theater is no different. I think when people put themselves out there and try to create theater, basically, especially in this environment, it's a challenging thing. I think I commend Cynthia for all the years that she has basically taken on board the challenge of creating and finding ways of pushing the arts in Barbados. And that is why we're here recognizing that effort this afternoon. And I want to invite Professor Clive Landis, our Deputy Principal, to bring remarks.
Your Excellency, Dame Sandra Mason, the Honourable John King, Minister of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman of the Campus Council, the Honourable Dr. Cynthia Wilson, Guest of Honour, Professor Alan Cobley, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Board for Undergraduate Studies, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Miss Esther Phillips, featured speaker, Chancellor Emeritus Sir George Aline and Lady Aline, Mrs. Jacqueline Wade, former campus registrar, other members of the Aline family, members of the campus community, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I think you can see from the protocol list and the presence of so many family and supporters the warmth and esteem that our honoree is held in. So it's certainly my pleasure to be here this evening for this celebration, the naming of the Arts Lecture Theatre in honor of Dr. Cynthia Wilson. On behalf of the Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Udine Barito, and the senior management of the Cave Hill campus, I wish to welcome everyone here on this evening to the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus. Professor Barito could not unfortunately be with us this evening, but I know she is delighted and hugely supportive that Cynthia Wilson is being recognized in this way. Indeed, she proposed the naming in the first place. I cannot usurp the job of the featured speaker who will speak to the manifold contributions of Cynthia Wilson in theatre, in dance, in literature, and on the national and regional stage. But I can convey how happy and honored we are at the Cave Hill campus to be naming our main arts lecture theatre after Dr. Cynthia Wilson. It is entirely appropriate that future students in the Faculty of Humanities and Education should be able to draw inspiration every time they attend lessons in this room from such a legendary figure in the creative arts, who helped shape the cultural landscape of Barbados and the Caribbean. I know that you have received many honors from your life of distinction and service, but I would like to think that there is something very personal, almost umbilical, about having a lecture theatre named after you. It will create a daily link between you and the future generations of students who will sit in this room named in your honor as they receive their instruction and learn their craft. I am informed that there are some 24 named buildings and rooms on the campus, but only 3 named after women, Dame Nita Barrow, Audine Wilkinson, and Kerry-Ann Eiffel. So not only will you be joining a very select company, but this evening's naming ceremony will also go some way towards raising the profile on campus of women who have led such distinguished lives of service. I think that is another cause for celebration. And speaking of celebration, as we continue to seek opportunities to recognize the contribution of those who have given yeoman service and leadership, I'm happy to report that a number of UE stalwarts are under active consideration for suitable honor and recognition. And you may all wish to stay tuned for further announcements of this development in due course. Finally, allow me to point out that our ceremony tonight is taking place at a very auspicious time for the university. Not only are we celebrating our 70th year, but in July of this year, we received the wonderful news that the UE had broken into the THE Global University Rankings list. This is the most prestigious global ranking of universities, compiled by the Times Higher Education Supplement, which ranks the leading 4% of universities in the world. We will know in September, when the official list is released in Singapore, exactly what percentage within that 4% we have come. I must say that when the chair mentioned that putting on theatre involves risk-taking, I couldn't help but think of the only time I've ever put on a play was actually with two of your acolytes, Andrew Pilgrim and Amanda Camerbatch, and it was in the EBCCI in 2013. And it was a play that was put on as a fundraiser for an HIV charity that I had. And the play was a wonderful success. I think it was actually the best thing I've ever done. And we lost $35,000. I have no regrets. On that note, let me conclude by saying once again, on behalf of the principal and the Cave Hill campus, what an honor it is for the campus to be naming the Arts Lecture Theatre in the Faculty of Humanities and Education after Dr. Cynthia Wilson. Have a very enjoyable evening.
Deputy Principal, thank you very much. Art evokes the mystery for which the world will not exist. The job of the artist is always to deepen the mystery. I think our artists have generally done that quite effectively. I think Cynthia in her writing and her productions would have also sought to deepen that mystery, to make it exciting for all of us who had to watch or to see or to read what was being done. We now have within our midst a minister who was also an entertainer. I think maybe the first entertainer who has become a minister in Barbados. Honorable John King is a Barbadian entertainer, politician, and current cabinet minister. Mr. King is a first-timer to elective politics, successfully contesting the St. Philip West seat in my constituency for the Barbados Labour Party, BLP, in the 2018 general elections. He is the party minister of the Creative Economy, Culture, and Sports in the Mayor Motley administration. Let us give the Honorable John King a warm welcome.
Dame Sandra Mason, Governor General of Barbados, Professor Clive Landis, Deputy Principal, Mr. Kenneth Walters, Campus Registrar and Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Paul Altman, Chairman of the Campus Council, Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Dean Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Cynthia Wilson, our special honoree, heads of department and staff of the University of the West Indies, members of the Wilson family and of the Allen family, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening to join with the University of the West Indies in honoring Dr. Cynthia Wilson. Dr. Wilson can only be described as a Caribbean luminary. Her contribution to the development of Barbados' cultural landscape is phenomenal. It spans over 5 decades as a distinguished dancer, director, teacher, administrator, cultural activist, and now a published author. So much so that there's hardly a dancer, writer, or dramaturg in Barbados over the age of 40 who has not been influenced by her work. Over the years, due to her dedication and commitment to the arts, she has received many accolades and honors. In 1992, she received the Barbados Service Star, and in 2015, she was bestowed Barbados' second highest honor, the Companion of Honor. This evening's renaming of the Art Lecture Theatre is yet another honor that is well-deserved, and one with which my ministry and by extension the government of Barbados fully supports. To us within the Ministry of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, and more so within the National Cultural Foundation, Dr. Wilson is a treasured resource. As administrator for the now defunct Barbados Dance Theatre, she forged a path for the development of dance in Barbados. She has contributed to the development of the local and regional theatre sector. She performed in many BIMSHA productions. She was also a founding member of Stage 1 Theatre Productions that, in its heyday, raised the profile of theatre to national prominence. Regionally, she was a cultural activist, joining forces with other Caribbean icons such as the late Rex Nettleford, Paul Keynes Douglas, Alvin Bully, Ken Crosby, and Andrea Gollop in the formation of the Regional Information Exchange. One of her greatest contributions, in my estimation, was her tireless work to create the National Independence Festival of Creative Arts, better known as NIFCA. I would even dare to say that she was the engine behind the first NGO committee that drove the process, even before the National Cultural Foundation was established. In honor of this achievement, the NCF introduced the Cynthia Wilson's NIFCA Producers Prize in NIFCA of 2014. Simply put, Dr. Wilson has dedicated most of her life to the arts, and in recent times has authored several publications and produced excellent short stories that are considered to be good historical references for children to understand Barbados' heritage and how the class relations and social system work in Barbados. This is cleverly depicted in her book, For the Young and the Young at Heart, a collection of original tales from Barbados that follows an adventurous green monkey, a globe-trotting bear, a cow, 3 resourceful rats, and a hen. I would recommend you guys getting a copy of it ASAP. It's not often that one finds a creative who is so well accomplished across so many genres, more so one who continues to selflessly give of their talent, advice, and support. This evening's renaming ceremony provides me with a unique opportunity to personally thank Dr. Cynthia Wilson for her unswerving efforts and steadfast contribution to Barbados' cultural sector. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we can give her a round of applause for that. Not long ago, there was much discussion about national heroes. I am of the opinion that we ought to be mindful that heroes go beyond those persons officially sanctioned by the government. Heroes also span the length and breadth of Barbados and are in every community. However, in Barbados, unfortunately, we have been guilty of not adequately recognizing those who have contributed to this country's development, especially in areas outside of politics and business. As part of my mandate as minister responsible for culture and heritage, I intend to look at the development of a policy that will recognize such persons who continue to make yeoman contributions to this country. It is fitting that the university sees Dr. Wilson, one of Barbados' cultural icons, as deserving of such an honor, and it stands as a testament to the vision of the principal and staff of this campus. I wish, therefore, to publicly express my appreciation to the principal and her team for including my ministry in this momentous occasion, and also to offer my congratulations to the university for taking this bold step to rename the Art Lecture Theatre after this much-loved and talented Caribbean woman. And I'd simply like to finish this by saying, may God forever bless you, Dr. Cynthia Wilson.
Thank you, Minister. We thank you for your words of support as we continue to seek to recognize all of those who have contributed significantly to the development of our country. We now have two readings. One is by Mr. David Nealans. We'll be reading an excerpt from Dr. Wilson's story, The Wedding, and then Mrs. Tony Broder Hermans will be reading Mrs. Wilson's poem, Pledge. Mr. Nealans.
Chairman Lilai was a tall, big, black, and good-looking man. He had on his black chairman's suit, a black bow tie, and braces. The white shirt he was wearing had in about 1 million tucks, every one ironed down flat, 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 and the whole shirt was shining with starch and hot iron. He stood up, ran a finger around his collar, hitched up his pants, opened his jacket, and hooked his thumbs in the braces. A sigh of anticipation ran around the gathering, because everybody knew that when Lilai did that, he wasn't only going to talk, he was going to orate. And nobody could orate like Lilai. But wait, what happened? The chairman was in the stance, but he wasn't saying anything. People couldn't understand because Lilai does usually let go the oration with full force right away. Sensing a problem, and possibly a need that ought to be answered, Lawson poured out a short glass full of rum and carried it to Lilai, along with an ordinary glass of plain water. Lilai took the shot glass, pelted back the rum with a toss of the head, and fluttering the wrist, took the water and poured a mouthful on top of the rum. He swallowed. He shook his head, squeezed up his face, and smacked his lips, like you're supposed to do when you fire one, so everybody would know that the stuff was strong, but you as man, and you could take it. Lilai turned his back to the gathering, spat on the ground, turned around again, took a sip of water, cleared his throat, reassumed the stance, racked back, and launched forth. Illustrious groom and iridescent bride, my worthy master of ceremonies, which in is Lawson, important guesses, ladies and gentlemen all. This balmy afternoon, it is my bounden duty and requested pleasure to speak to you on all behalfs, because that I was speaking for everybody, bride, groom, parents, and guesses. So the speechifying will be shorter, although not short, but sweet, sweet, sweet. I know that your minds have been the precursors to the carnivorous delights that await, but wait little bit. Things must proceed with due and proper orchestration. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I perambulate to my indictment, let me first say bonny soir, bonny tardes, or otherwise in language that you all would understand, good evening to all the inimitable congregation foregathered here this evening to witness, or so to speak, take part in the ramifications of this stupendous occasion. As I've started earlier, it is my bounden duty to orate on the behalf of everybody. I, the orator, Ecce homi, behold the man. Now, on behalf of the parents of the groom, let me here expostulate my knowledge of their backgrounds, which in they is good and decent folks. Always treat one another discriminately and coexist good with the neighbours. They bring up their son in the fear and the fright of the Lord and labour to give him what education he could take in. Decent, God-fearing people. Of course, nowadays people like to give up all that. The Latin have it, non idem tempus est non mens, which is to say, man no longer have the time for their offsprings, but that's another story. The groom mother always carried herself neat and gracious. When the Sunday come to see her walk in the church with the 7 children behind, youngest in front, oldest at the back, like a hen with a brood of chickens, it gives your heart joy. The father used to be firing one with the boys at the shop, but a man feel he has to do that, and the good Lord understand. I come now to the parents of the bride, and it behoves me to be excruciatingly explicit. I cannot rightfully lay claim to involvement in their acquaintanceship, but the manner in which I see them administer this event tell me they is responsible and right-minded people. For everything so far has proceeded with astute munificence. Theirs was the responsibility, so theirs is the glory. Transmorgarificum nunc damitis, meaning to say, let me now transfer my attention to the centerpiece of these bounteous festivities, the bride and groom. Ladies and gentlemen, I take in the groom first. A well-brought-up young man. He may not be too pretty, you take after the father, but he decent. He got a good job and he's steady. I assure you all never hear any idle talk about him in the district, and look at his demeanor this evening, serious, decomposed. Any father would be overwhelmed to give his daughter to such a man. He is richly deserving. And the bride, oh my, the Latin describes she ex occidenti lux. She arrived from Marley Vale, St. Philip in the east, and she surely is a shining light. Look at her, ladies and gentlemen. The effulgence of her delicate countenance radiates upon us. Her facial features glow resplendently. The sartorial splendor of her wedding habilitations enhance her grace and opulence. What a picture of nuptial bemusement. Surely she is the proper and wifely helpmeet for her new-made husband. Truly, they make a gastronomical couple. As the Latin says, de causis belli, beauty is the cause of all things. We know that she will be a transfiguring inspiration to her husband. And last, but far from least, I speaks on behalf of the guesses, of which I myself am part, because I put myself upon no pedestal. So on behalf of the guesses, I want to say that we is honored to be here today, Dr. Wilson. We feel good to know that we get invited to this splendiferous concourse, especially as I know they had plenty that did expecting an invite and didn't get none. Although it is not my intention to cast aspirations on anyone. We appreciate all the houses has done to procure our comfort, and we shall retaliate with all conglomerate enjoyment. And now, before I redound to my gerum pirum diptopolitical seat, I will say thank everybody, because I am making a vote of thanks too. And if you want to make sure of your eats and drinks, vada may come, stick with me.
Pledge. I was born here, and here is where I choose to die. I will spend my life here, love here, hate here, laugh and cry and quarrel here. This is my place, my land, my nation, my country, my ancestors' bones are scattered on the rocks here. My grandfather labored in the fields here. My father sowed the seeds of knowledge here. My navel string is buried here. I will eat here or starve here. I will work here and play here. My children will grow here. I will be old here. My heart belongs here. My soul is at peace here. This is my home here. The air is sweet here. The earth is warm and softly welcoming. Whatever happens here, I intend to stay here.
And let's give both of them another round of applause because that was excellent. I talked about creativity earlier, Cynthia, but that shows the breadth of the creativity that you have produced over the years. And I want to continue producing because I think we as Barbadians don't produce enough literature about our history and about our culture, and that is important as we develop as a country. The position of the artist is to be humble. He's essentially a channel. And those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing. So we have to look at our environments and see what it is that we can imitate and produce for the benefit of the wider society. We now come to the feature address. In February this year, Esther Phillips was named Poet Laureate by the then government of Barbados. She graduated with a MFA in creative writing, from the University of Miami in 1999, winning the Alfred Boss Poetry Prize of the Academy of American Poets for her poetry thesis. In February 2018, she was appointed the first Poet Laureate of Barbados. Her first publication was a chapbook, La Monte, University of West Indies Press, 1983, and she won a Frank Collymore Literary Endowment Award in 2001. When Ground Doves Fly was Ian Ramdell Publishers' publication. Her first full-length collection appeared in 2003. Her work has appeared in several anthologies, most recently Poetas de Caribe Angelofo, Casa de la America 2011, and Gave the Ball to the Poet, Cambridge Homerton 2014. Phillips is also a Sunday columnist of the Nation newspaper and editor of BIM. Arts for the 21st Century, a revival of the seminal Caribbean Literary and Arts magazine, which first appeared in 1942. A founder of the Writers Inc. and the BIM Literary Festival and Book Fair. But her most recent publication is The Stone Gatherer by on the People's Free Press, 2009. Therefore, to deliver our feature address this evening, please welcome Ms. Esther Phillips.
Well, it's very kind of you to bring that water for me. I'm not likely to stay here long enough to need it, but thanks anyway. Good evening. All protocols having been observed, I'm going to deliver this address. It's not, they've asked me to do it in, say, 10, 12 minutes. I assure you I will not go beyond that. And by now you're probably wondering what else could she possibly say about Dr. Wilson. I do have some things to say, but my address would also deal with drama in a more general sense. And I hope that I will say some things that Cynthia, Dr. Wilson, you will find interesting and you will find them pleasurable to listen to. The act of naming is significant. Not only does it confer honor on the one who receives the title or designation, but there's also a recognition of the command and authority of the individual or institution bestowing that honor. Both the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, therefore, and Dr. Cynthia Wilson are to be commended for the naming of the Arts Lecture Theatre in her honor. That Cynthia Wilson is richly deserving of having the Arts Lecture Theatre named after her is unquestionable. She has labored long and still continues to do so in the service of the arts. Administrator, actor, poet, fiction writer, mentor, she is, as it were, singing the full song. One is aware of her commitment, and I personally have a deep admiration for passion. It is this driving force that often keeps the individual going in the face of all kinds of resistance, bureaucracy in all its forms, genuine or deliberate blindness, financial constraints, scarcity of resources, and so on. It takes tenacity and an unfailing belief that the vision you hold in your head and heart can and must be accomplished. And you, the one carrying that vision, are prepared to make whatever sacrifices are necessary in order to bring it to fruition. It is clear from Cynthia's long list of engagements and accomplishments that she was and continues to be that committed and passionate individual. I'm aware that the Arts Lecture Theatre does not concern itself only with the performing arts, but in light of the individual who is being honored this evening, such will be my emphasis in this brief address. And I remember seeing Cynthia for the first time at the Queen's Park Gallery. This slim, attractive lady, very self-assured. I think you were wearing this long white dress, and you were doing what you clearly loved best. It was a combination of dance and theater. And you also, I remember you also had this big afro that was, of course, very fashionable at the time. And the play would have been, I think, Lights. Now, we all know that the world has changed so much since then. And I find myself reflecting on the way forward for theater, or the drama on stage. There is no doubt that poetry may be relied upon to add an extra dimension of meaning to the dialogue, and components of fiction such as plot, characters, etc., are essential to the drama. But while the writing of poetry and fiction may be an individual or private exercise, theater is very much a public enterprise. The play must be performed on a stage, there must be an audience, and there must be actors who make an immediate impact on the audience. In light of all this, one may ask the question, is there still an audience, a demand for the stage play in this era of technology, when, for example, owners of cell phones, iPads, etc., may create their own drama in a matter of minutes and send it all over the world? There is also the superabundance of movies in the cinemas and television, YouTube, etc., that readily engage the attention of millions of viewers. Speaking of which, I am aware that the demand made on the screenwriter and the one writing for stage, they're different. One of the most obvious differences is that the screenwriter has at his or her disposal a magnitude of space and time for which the confinement of a stage does not allow. In addition, one depends very much on the visual, whereas the other relies heavily on the power of language. But in both cases, fortunately, there must be script writers, actors, directors, and managers. It seems to me, therefore, that such personnel will continue to be in demand for a very long time. But if I may return to my point about those cell phone users and the speed with which they create and disseminate their own dramas, especially if they have to do with one tragic scene or another, I would posit that there are still several among us who understand and appreciate the truth that life is not about a quick fix. The real substance of the human experience can hardly materialize at the mere press of a button. Behind the often tragic scene that so quickly appears on the cell phone, there is inevitably a backstory, often a slow unfolding, a winding backward that reveals cause, contradiction, complication, twists of irony, and real living individuals who must embark on their difficult journey of grief and loss. What is their story? How much more meaningful it must be to see that story, reimagined to some degree perhaps, but unfolding before our eyes on the stage, with real-life characters to whom we can relate. What better chance for our feelings to be properly engaged, particularly the empathy that is so sadly lacking in today's world, where impatience is everything. I believe that we're most fortunate to have programs put in place to ensure that we're superbly equipped to produce a caliber of individual highly skilled in the literary and performing arts. And this is something I know would please the heart of Dr. Cynthia Wilson. The University of the West Indies, especially with its coming MFA program, the Barbados Community College, the National Cultural Foundation, have instituted excellent programs able to produce top-class writers and other practitioners of the arts in all its forms. By all means, we must, as a people, write our own scripts. We must tell our own stories in all aspects of the arts. We must not continue to so readily ingest the foreign material that is so often ignorant of or indifferent to our own cultural realities. There is no substitute for our Caribbeanness, rooted in its peculiar history and cultures. Our language is also filled with rich folk images and symbols that are nonetheless universal in their meaning. I believe there is validity in the idea that the truest reflection of a people is not necessarily found in the writings of historians, economists, and sociologists, all due respect to them, but in what the artists record out of their own instincts, their sensitivity to the vibrations of the daily life experience around us, of which they are a part. In this regard, we commend the likes of Winston Farrell, Glenville Lovell, Yvonne Weeks, Anthony Hinkson, Shakira Bourne. I'm sure the names I have omitted, but please forgive me. I just couldn't bring them to mind. And we anticipate the revival of Stage 1 theater. I know that Dr. Wilson is working on that, aren't you? And there was also the Green Room Theater, and I'm sure there are others that are going to evolve over time. At the beginning of my address, I referred to the importance of naming. I would add that there is something almost magical about such an act, or one might even say ritual. It is not difficult to imagine that the spirit or energy embodied in an individual lives on and presides over the thing or place named after them. That the vibrancy, passion, strength of vision, and that unquenchable love become a force that, having attached itself to that name, continues for generations after. May the Cynthia Wilson Arts Lecture Theatre be one such place where lovers of the arts and the otherwise curious come with the expectation that here is where excellence dwells. Here is where we see not only an authentic reflection of who we are as a people, but the best that we aspire to be. There will always be the need for various resources, including finances, in order to execute and implement all aspects of the arts. But I believe that passion and commitment, such as we've seen in Dr. Cynthia Wilson, will make the difference between the ordinary and the outstanding, the mundane and the unique. My sincerest congratulations to you, Cynthia, for having attained this signal honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. You asked the question if there's still room for the theater. And I have a resounding yes, because the only thing that I get to go to these days is laugh it off. And I would like to see more of those sort of productions which capture the drama as opposed to just the comedy being produced. The only other thing we seem to have is the folk night when we have at the Frank Colmer Hall around Cropover. The Bar Center produces plays as part of its examination process, but I think even in those we need to do more of that, to expose more people to the arts. But I think it is important, the points you've made in terms of developing the creative arts in Barbados, and I hope the Minister has taken note and see how we can assist us in achieving that objective. And I want to invite Dr. Jackie Wilshire-Gay, who will speak on behalf of the honoree.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to rise this evening on behalf of the Honorable Dr. Cynthia Wilson. Dr. Wilson and I have been in happy friendship for most of my adult life. And in fact, we are cousins by chance and friends by choice. I'm therefore honored to deliver her response on the occasion of this distinction and to all the very kind sentiments expressed here this evening. Your Excellency, Dame Sandra Mason, the Honorable John King, Minister of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman of Campus Council, Professor Alan Colby, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Board of the Undergraduate Studies, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Ms. Esther Phillips, featured speaker, Chancellor Emeritus Sir George Alleyne and Lady Alleyne, Mrs. Jacqueline Wade, former campus registrar, other members of the Alleyne family, members of the campus community, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. They say that naming someone or something after one is among the highest forms of recognition and honor. I am sure that no one who has attended this institution, which our own George Lamin once described as the cave without a hill, will lack memories of this space for many and diverse reasons. For here was once distinguished as the epicenter of this campus, a place of learning, guild meetings, festivals, drama, and even as a plan B for graduation ceremonies. And that is why I am at once very humbled and grateful that my name, the name of Cynthia Wilson, should be even considered for the renaming of this multi-purpose space that has been such an integral part of the life of the Cave Hill campus of the University of the West Indies. I can vividly remember when my good friend Guyanese Dr. Michael Gills, once a leader within the literary and theater community on the island and lecturer on this campus, advocated and spearheaded the use of this space as a stage for theatrical productions. We still talk about such happenings as Milton McCollum and Elizabeth Clark in Prime Minister, and the student portrayal of the Trials of Brother Jiro by the African William Shakespeare, Wole Soyinka. For me, I think that was when I truly began to cultivate my fulsome appreciation for the ALT, the Arts Lecture Theatre. I've always felt close to the entire University of the West Indies. I can still remember my late father triumphantly heralding its genesis as a regional accomplishment and a poignant hope for the further education and contribution of his own children. Both would it become. Indeed, as I look through that lens that has been visioned at this university by the presence and influences of the entire Caribbean region and its diaspora, I can see this space becoming repurposed as an incubator for those now beginning to write, for those now exploring the vast world of literature and drama, and those whose names will be numbered among the known writers, directors, and producers of the future. For it is only on occasions such as this, many, many, many years hence, when others list all the areas of the arts in which I was involved, started, produced, managed, toured with, performed for, or written, that I realized that I must have been indeed working very hard. But it was never knowing that I was working hard because I enjoyed every minute of it. It was my passion and my purpose. And so will I continue in whatever way I can until I am called to a higher stage and a greater performance. I would therefore like to say a special thank you to all who have in any way been involved in mounting this occasion, especially Mr. Harclyde Walcott and Miss Lisa Yard. To the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, I say thank you for even thinking of me worthy of such a tremendous honor. Please be assured that I tried with all I had and with every effort to use my work for the unification and integration of the Caribbean. As an unrepentant federalist, I was counted among the earliest students of UWI, having happily attended the Mona campus. There I had my first introduction to my Caribbean brothers and sisters who were just born to other mothers on other islands in the archipelago. It was therefore only natural for me to conduct Caribbean tours throughout the region's artistic community and to involve Caribbean artists in Barbadian work. And I learned something new from each one of them. And this was done mainly through the late Earl Warner, who himself saw the Caribbean as one infinite tapestry. In fact, it gave us such encouragement when we were told that plays directed by Earl Warner and produced by Cynthia Wilson had not only gained their own reputation throughout the region, but had become known for including young artists, particularly in theater and dance. I remain grateful for those opportunities to showcase some of the best artistic work this Caribbean has produced. And I'm proud of the new artists who, even as we speak, are seeing their promise realized. And thank you, all of you, for being here and making this how you chose to spend this evening, graciously sharing this special honor with me. You are all an integral part of who I have become and the community that it is my honor and pleasure to serve. And last but not least, I want to express an undying gratitude to the University of the West Indies for teaching me that I am Caribbean and therefore part of a rich and enduring cultural legacy. Thank you all. And from the entire Caribbean, let me thank you again, Cynthia. Let me again say publicly just how proud we are of all your achievements and honors, all richly deserved. As in yet another way, we say thank you for your sterling and sustained contribution to the arts and cultural life of Barbados and the region. I count myself among those most proud because our roots may say we are cousins, but you know our hearts say we are friends.
Thank you, Dr. Wilshire. Excellent rendition of that response to the tributes. And I would ask another icon for the campus, Dr. Anthony Gabby Carter, to give us his rendition of culture.
Good evening, everybody. very often that you get a chance to see three women that you love and admire sitting next to each other like that. Governor General, Cynthia, Esther, it is a real pleasure for me this evening to try to sing this song for you. It's emotional for me because I remember when I wrote this song. I sang it on the phone for Cynthia. And for about 10 years, at least it felt like 10 years, I ain't heard nothing coming from Cynthia. So I said, Cynthia, you still there? She said, yes, Gabby. After you have written this song and everything, you can die because there's nothing else you can write in better than this. And you know, we going back a long way. When I first came here on the Dappy, when I came back home, Cynthia met me at the airport. I said, Gabby, my name is Cynthia Wilson. I'm glad you all could come. And I want you to know there are three things you don't have to worry about. Food, drink, and transportation. I will look after that for the entire duration of your tour here. The second important thing is, Cynthia, we had Pampalam with Jeanette Lane Clark's work. So Cynthia told me, Gabby, do not leave home, I'm coming for you. So the play starts at 8. Cynthia told me she's coming at 6. At 5:45, I hear, boop, 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 boop. Gabby, you're not ready yet? I said, but you said 6. Gabby, when people tell you 6, you should be ready for 5:45. You can't be coming through the door at 6. You have to be leaving at 6. I said, okay. First big lesson. Well, that evening, we went to the Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre. So I put my guitar in the car and we go down there. When we got to the thing, but about 5 minutes before I am due to go on stage, Cynthia said, did you tune the guitar, Gabby? I said, no, but I could tune it. When I gone, no guitar in the case. She said, Gabby, where's the guitar? I said, oh shoot, I was practicing and I forgot it home. So Cynthia drives me back home to get the guitar. I want you to know that from that time till the play was finished, Cynthia never allowed me to touch my guitar until I was ready to go on stage. That's the kind of woman that she is. You know, and the song, I was supposed to be third person on, but because of the fact I had to go back home, Jeanette Lane Clark livid, and she put me to end the first half of the show. The song went down so well that every night it ended the first half, a song called Vision Fisherman. And this evening, this one, let me see if my fingers is right. Cynthia called me about 4 days ago and told me I have to sing this song this evening. All of this talk about culture driving me mad, making me sad. All of the talk about culture driving me mad, I'm taking it hard. How them expect to have a culture plan for Caribbean man from North American? We got to start here at home. Then we'll no longer roam. I mean, wine made from Duncan guava, sing, that is my culture. Donkey steak out in pasta, that is my culture. Flying fish floating pan cuckoo. That is my culture. Fried bacon, rice and stew. That is my culture. So now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. Oh, now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. Bam bam be, bam be, bam bam be in the la le. Bam be, ding bam be, bam bam be. Diddy lie, diddy die. All of them shows on TV, you must agree, are not for we. Show me some castle in my skin by George Lamin for my viewing, or them could fall in the spot with direct Walcott instead of that trash like Sanford and Mash. Then we could stare in their face, show them we cultural base. I mean, leaving the child at granny. I'm going court for the child money. Mismatching the latest fashion. That is my culture. And love making with a passion. Well, that is my culture. So now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. Oh, now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. And this cultural penetration that's happening, it shows one thing. We got to find a new direction in programming to save his skin. We can't allow West Indians to bow to foreign pressure from North America. Cashbox and billboard must go for the West Indian culture to grow. I mean, box cat and stick for wicket. That is my culture. Mobby and marble cricket. That is my culture. Slamming down and no in competition. That is my culture. Calypso and sweet steel band. That is my culture. So now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. Now you see what I really mean. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. This is my true culture. This is my true culture. This is my true culture in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Let's give Gabby another round of applause. favorite calypso sung by my favorite calypsonian. Sorry, John. Right? That's excellent. I think we've had a wonderful evening of the official ceremony before we get to the unveiling. I just want to thank all of you for coming out, but I specifically want to thank the Governor General for joining us this afternoon and sharing this very special moment. Dean O'Callaghan, thanks for coming and doing the honors. Professor Clive Landis, Minister John King, thanks for coming and sharing with us this afternoon. Miss Esther Phillips, thank you very much for your feature address. Very informative and exhilarating. Dr. Jackie Wiltshire-Gay, thank you as well for the response. I think it was very well rendered on behalf of Cynthia. I want to thank the staff of the university, the faculty staff who were the main leaders on this organization, the registry staff, security, maintenance. Our clerk was mentioned as being critical to the organization. Our ushers, I always forget to thank them, but they're doing a wonderful job of making sure everything flows and people are seated accurately and that sort of thing. We're going to have some refreshments after. I want to thank those caterers for providing the refreshments. I would also like you to take a chance to look at the posters that we have of Cynthia. So well, she's grown and matured over the years from the big hairdo that we heard about the early days. It's a very mature and very special looking lady today as we recognize her work. I now want to invite the following persons to come here to the right left to join us. Cynthia.